Welcome to another episode of the CME under the banner of the Haryana Association of Surgeons. In in the hope that this dark era will pass and it bring a new day of hope, we are interacting virtually with determination that one day we will victorious and will do our regular CME offline. I request our President Hasi Dr. Gautam Gole to grant permission to start the CME.
I request Bhardwaj sir to kindly start the presentation, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Gole sir. Dr. Bharadwaj sir is all known to us. He is an ex-MLA and he is the founder president of the Haryana Association of Surgeons. He has organized ASICON 2015 as organizing chairman. He has also served ASI 2 times as a governing council member. He is director Bhadwa Nursing Home, academician and clinician par excellence. He is always a guiding force for the young surgeons, always lent a helping hand to our fellow surgeons. I request Dr. Bhadwaj sir to please enlighten us about the facts of COVID-19 which every clinician should know.
Good evening to everyone, and I think it is my pleasure to present a little bit of my experience with COVID-19. It is a new disease, and there was a time when I was undergraduate student. At that time, a good doctor was that doctor who knew everything about syphilis. Then came somewhere 82, 83, I know Dr. C. Prakash. He used to tell us, you should know everything about HIV. Then only you will be recognized as a good doctor. And now, in last 1.5 years or so, a good doctor is that doctor who knows everything about COVID-19, because there is so much of hype about it, and it is spreading like anything. We are second in such a short span of time. We are having second wave, and it is also said by somebody that third wave may also come. So it is the responsibility, primarily our responsibility, to make people aware of it, to make people teach how to avoid the third wave, and to propagate how to save life, and to guide people and everybody. Anyhow, let me share my few slides which will give you a glance. Landscape means if you want to see somebody, something at a glance and from a distance. So there are few facts which every clinician should know about COVID-19. My slide would discuss clinical observations, diagnosis, and how to manage this disease. This coronavirus, it is a pleomorphic virus. It is a single stranded RNA virus. The size is 100 to 160 nanometer in diameter, and the appearance is like a crown. It is produced by club-shaped spikes, which are in fact proteins, and it gives the shape of a crown, and hence the name novel coronavirus. Next. Coronavirus, which infect human being, is of two types: alpha coronavirus and beta coronavirus. SARS-CoV and MERS. These are SARS is severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus, and MERS is Middle East respiratory syndrome coronavirus. These both are beta coronaviruses, and they are present throughout the world. In 2003, the 90% patients were found in China and Hong Kong. The reservoir at that time was bad, and the infection was transmitted from human to human. COVID-19 is acute respiratory disease caused by novel coronavirus, and in abbreviations it is written as SARS-CoV-2, previously known as 2019 nCoV. The full genome is shown in the picture, and this is how it looks like. The parts of virus are exterior envelope with this distinctive spike, and that spike is glycoprotein S. Virus has an envelope which is known as capsid, and it is protecting the nucleic acid inside. And nucleic acid is a single stranded nucleic acid, that is RNA. There are various mutations which are happening. A2A mutation is dominant. It could be as high as 80% in India. Around 45 to 50% mutation is A2A mutation. And this is the mutation in S protein, which is the spike protein. And what happens with this mutation? There is increased binding capacity. The penetration capacity is also increased. Hence, virulence is increased and disease severity is increased. And this virus binds to ACE2 receptor. How it is different from the previous family members of viruses? The only thing is that previously mortality rate was high. MERS had a mortality rate of 34%. SARS-CoV had a mortality rate of 9.5%. This virus, the data which suggests mortality is 2.3%. How it is transmitted? Primarily through respiratory droplets. Transmission also occurs through contact with contaminated surface. It enters the human body through nose, mouth and eyes only. And that's why they say 2 गज की दूरी, मास्क है जरूरी और हाथ को धोते रहें या सैनिटाइज करते रहें. Large and small droplet, they form aerosol and they are responsible for spread most of the time. Even fecal oral route is also documented. So whenever we flush, we should close the lid of the commode. And this virus has been isolated even from saliva. Some people are super spreaders, and in their saliva it is found. The incubation period may vary. It's known to between 1 and 14 days. Median is 5.1 day. And most of those who develop symptoms, they are doing so within 11.5 days of infection. Incubation period in comparison with other viruses like SARS-CoV-2 is 1 to 14 days, median 5.1 days. SARS-CoV, which had outbreak in 2002 and 3, it was 2 to 7 days and as long as 10 days. And MERS-CoV had 5 days, range was from 2 to 14 days. And that is why the army people, they suggest quarantine for 2 weeks. And there are various stages of infection. Stage 1 is a isolated imported case which comes, then there may be a local transmission. Stage 3 is a community transmission, and stage 4 is what we are seeing today. It is epidemic. This is the picture showing the life cycle of the SARS-CoV. The virus, it enters through the ACE2 inhibitors, then it is leading to translation, then there is viral protease cleavage, then there is translation and RNA replication, then it is packaging, and then there is release of virons. The SARS-CoV infects cells of respiratory system via ACE2 receptors. The proposed host immune response during SARS-CoV infection is that once there is infection, antibodies are formed, and these antibodies are ultimately protective. And these antibodies are said to be better antibodies because of natural infection than those produced by vaccination. Who are at high risk of infection? People with elderly age, male gender, pregnant women, and people with underlying conditions like hypertension, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Which subset of patients they have high risk of mortality? Development of condition increases risk of critical condition and mortality. It is because of cytopathic effect, because of cytokine storm, because of sustained inflammatory response, hypoxia develops, septic shock develops, and population with high risk of infection is also at high risk of development of severe disease and mortality. What are the symptoms? The main symptoms is fever, sore throat, dry cough, dyspnea, fatigue, headache, myalgia, nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, rhinorrhea, dizziness. I would just like to tell one thing here, that it is not only fever, not only cough. Many patients are coming with diarrhea. I admitted one patient with diarrhea. I thought that maybe I'll give him some fluid because rehydration is needed. But ultimately that patient was found to be having positive for corona. Though usually the incubation period is 2 to 7 days. Usual features are fever, malaise, headache, myalgia. In 1 or 2 days, there is development of non-productive cough and dyspnea. And 25% of patients, they come with diarrhea now. And chest X-ray, simple chest X-ray shows infiltrates, especially in the lower lung fields. This is the percentage-wise clinical features. Fever is at the top to the range of 88%. Then comes sore throat, about 13%. It's like this. And what is the timeline? In day 1 to 3, there is onset of symptoms. Day 4 to 9, it reaches the lung. Then from 8 to 15 days, it reaches the blood, and there is acute respiratory distress, and sepsis may develop in about 5% of patients. What are lab and radiological findings? CBC shows leukopenia, lymphopenia, thrombocytopenia, and elevated aminotransferases. SGOT, SGPT, they are raised. Radiologically, there is unilateral infiltrate in about 10% patient, bilateral infiltrate in about 85% patient, and in some patient there may be no finding at all. And the more important complications are respiratory distress syndrome, acute kidney injury, septic shock, metabolic acidosis, hard to correct, coagulopathy, multiple organ failure, and leading to death. Detection of genetic material is by RT-PCR. Sample is collected from nasal swab. Primary and preferred method of diagnosis is collection from upper respiratory tract from nasopharyngeal and oropharyngeal swabs. The use of bronchoscopy as diagnostic method for COVID-19 is not recommended. Specificity of RT-PCR is quite high. There may be some false positive patients due to swab contamination, especially in asymptomatic patients. Single negative test does not exclude SARS-CoV-2 infection, especially in highly exposed persons. It may be advisable to repeat the test or collect deeper respiratory tract sample. The role of antibodies is not much. If at all we detect them, it takes quite some time, maybe a week or so. Radiological investigations are very, very important. If somebody asks me what is the most important investigation, I would say X-ray chest, HRCT chest, CRP, renal function test, and D-dimer. The typical CT finding in individuals with COVID-19 are ground glass opacities, particular in peripheral and lower lobes, bilateral, multiple lobular, subsegmental areas of consolidation may be seen, especially in ICU patients. Number of lung segments involved is related to the disease severity. Opacities tended to flow together and thicken with progress of disease. Non-typical CT findings, they include pleural effusion, some masses in mediastinum, cavitations, lymphadenopathies, and they would suggest some alternate diagnosis. Symptoms of early disease are non-specific, so we have to consider some differential diagnosis, and the various DDR, adenovirus, influenza, human metapneumovirus, parainfluenza, respiratory syncytial virus, and rhinovirus. And when to do a home isolation. If a person tests positive for COVID-19, he is examined by health team consisting of medical officer, physician. Then they decide whether the patient is eligible for home isolation or not. This flow chart shows if patient, they assess the suitability for home isolation. What is needed? It is a separate, well-ventilated room, preferably with attached toilets. If the health team finds that the patient is suitable, then he is isolated at home, and if he is not suitable, found suitable, then he is shifted to COVID care center. Now, the treatment of COVID-19, in fact, there is no specific antiviral treatment, but vaccines are now available. We'll come to that later. This is an oxygen fast challenge, and it is usually not done these days. The availability of oximeter is everywhere. If we find that the saturation is decreasing, maybe less than 93 or so, then we diagnose as having problem of corona. Here I may tell you one thing. Any patients coming with these respiratory symptoms and fever, we should presume that he is having corona until and unless proved otherwise. If we follow this, we'll be comfortable and will not miss cases. And treatment is oxygen, and HFNO is high flow nasal oxygen. The suggested ways to manage high flow nasal oxygen is when indication is when it is difficult to maintain SpO2 more than 92% and not dyspnea is not improved through standard oxygen. So we set
or a low IgG response,
and we set a flow of 30 to 40 liter per minute, and FiO2 50 to 60%. FiO2 is the fraction of oxygen which we are getting, and it should be adjusted according to the clinical response, and it can be switched to non-invasive ventilation if symptomatology is not improved after 1 hour with flow of 50 liter per minute and FiO2 more than 70%. High flow nasal oxygen can also be used for CPAP breaks and for assisted fiber optic tracheal intubation in critically ill patients. What is contraindication to high flow nasal oxygen? When patient is hypercapnic. Non-invasive ventilation has a key role in managing COVID-19 patients. The suggested ways are like helmet or CPAP, or we should just know that we should start with a PEEP of 5 centimeters of water. It should be according to the tolerance of the patient, and we should keep the PEEP high. PEEP is positive and expiratory pressure. It should be kept high because we do not want alveoli to collapse. And do not make changes in the first 24 hours. We may, after 4 to 6 hours, if stabilized, we can detach for maximum of 1 hour and allow for intake of small quantities of fluid. And during night, we should continue non-invasive ventilation. Intubation and proper mechanical ventilation may be needed. There are some special precautions are necessary during intubation. The procedure should be executed by an expert operator who uses personal protective equipment, PPE, FFP3 or 95 mask, protective goggles, disposable gowns with long sleeve, and disposable double socks and gloves. If possible, rapid sequence should be performed. Pre-oxygenation for 5 minutes should be done, and the ventilation should be a lung protective ventilation. I remember a very nice workshop I had attended at AIIMS. Professor Tirkha and Professor Vimmi, there was a topic, ventilation for surgeons. It was one of the wonderful workshops I attended, and there I learned some forms of mechanical ventilation. The mechanical ventilation should be with lower tidal volume, maybe 4 to 6 ml per kg, and PEEP must be as high as possible. The disconnections from ventilator must be avoided. The use of paralytics is not recommended. Prone ventilation is very, very important. For prone ventilation for more than 12 hours per day and use of conservative fluid management and strategy for ARDS patients without tissue hyperperfusion are emphasized. Lung protective ventilation can also reduce risk of new or worsening acute kidney injury by preventing ventilator-induced hemodynamic effect. Among other therapeutic strategies, although systemic corticosteroids in the treatment of viral pneumonia or acute respiratory distress syndrome were not recommended, in severe COVID-19 ARDS, these drugs are usually used, and the dose is methylprednisolone 1 milligram per kilogram body weight, but this should be given only after 5 days, and especially in moderate cases or in severe cases. I will come a little later which are mild cases, which are moderate cases, and which are severe cases. Of note, a recent large size RCT demonstrated that dexamethasone reduces deaths by 1/3 among critically ill COVID patients. Earlier, the data was coming that remdesivir doesn't decrease mortality, but it decreases the time of illness, and it was responsible for early recovery. But now data is pouring in that it reduces mortality also, and so remdesivir has become little important. And in intervention group, it is a one study that in 2,100 patients, they received dexamethasone 6 milligram per kilogram body weight, whereas in control group of patients, they received only standard care. And this old drug, old is gold, dexamethasone has shown good results. There are certain drugs like chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, lopinavir, ritonavir, they're all having some good effect. And I have personally used chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and I'm satisfied that these small molecules, they have a good large effect. And antiviral drugs, in fact, no antiviral treatments have been approved, and several approaches have been proposed, such as lopinavir, ritonavir, and clinical studies, they suggest that remdesivir, an inhibitor of RNA polymerase, could be effective for both prophylaxis and therapy of coronavirus infection. This drug positively tested in some model, and but now data is pouring in day by day that it is effective in reducing the duration of the disease as well as mortality. As far as alpha interferon is concerned, number one, alpha interferon is important only in the early phase of the treatment. If it is given later on, it is not going to help the patient. Several anti-flu drugs such as oseltamivir have been used for the treatment of COVID-19 patients. Another anti-flu medication, favipiravir, demonstrated a certain efficacy against SARS-CoV-2 in vitro. Again, a retrospective investigation showed that broad-spectrum antiviral arabidol can improve in discharging rate and decrease the mortality of COVID-19 patients. Chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine are proposed as immunomodulatory therapy, and they are freely available, they are quite cheap, and they are effective also. Hydrochloroquine was significantly associated with viral load reduction until viral disappearance, and this effect was enhanced by macrolides like azithromycin. Attention must be paid with the concomitant use of hydroxychloroquine with azithromycin, as the association can lead to higher risk of QT interval. But see, we are giving so commonly these anti-malarials, and we just monitor with the ECG, and little precaution is taken. Otherwise, by and large, chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine are safe drugs. Anticoagulant therapy is quite important. See, in treatment, number one is supportive treatment. Number two is oxygen. Number three is anti-inflammatory like steroid. And another important therapy is anticoagulant therapy, because COVID-19 patients have a higher incidence of venous thromboembolism, and anticoagulant therapy is associated with reduced ICU mortality. It is suggested that patient should receive thromboprophylaxis. In case of known thrombophilia or thrombosis, full therapeutic intensity anticoagulation, that is enoxaparin 1 milligram per kilogram twice daily, is indicated. I would recommend that in every ICU patient and in every severe and moderate case, the anticoagulant therapy should be given. Now, a word about vaccine. If anything can save us, it is the precautions like use of mask, like maintaining social distance, like having hand sanitization, and vaccination. There are now more than 29 COVID vaccines which are undergoing trial. In India, we have mainly 3 till date. One is Covishield. It is a vector-based disease vaccine. Another is Covaxin. It is manufactured by Bharat Biotech. It is using attenuated or inactivated and dead virus. And from yesterday only, I think Sputnik from Russia is also available. I think India is quite fortunate in having vaccine. And yesterday I was listening to some lecture on WhatsApp, and Devi Shetty from Narayan Hrudayalaya has advocated that if we are able to vaccinate our 51 crore people, about 20 crore we have, maybe little less than 20 crore we have already vaccinated, then we may achieve a herd immunity and a strong defense against this deadly virus, this disease, is vaccination among all population. The pharmacotherapy, I'll come little later. I have just mentioned there are certain things which I want to just tell, that there are certain costly drugs like tocilizumab. It is very costly, and we do not have enough data that they are very useful. And secondly, the convalescent plasma. It is also recognized now that there is not much benefit of convalescent plasma, and we should not go after them. Then some people are going mad for plasma or some other costly drugs, and they have not proved to be of great benefit. I think old is gold, corticosteroid, dexamethasone, it's a wonderful drug. AIIMS New Delhi have issued clinical guidelines for management of COVID-19 on 22nd April. They have issued earlier also, but I think this one is the latest one. They have divided the disease into 3 categories: mild disease, moderate disease, and severe disease. And mild disease is patients having upper respiratory tract symptoms without any shortness of breath. And moderate disease is when SpO2 is less than 93% at room air and respiratory rate is more than 24 per minute up to 30 per minute. And severe disease when respiratory rate is more than 30 per minute or SpO2 is less than 90 on room air. And in mild disease, the AIIMS has emphasized that there should be home isolation, and they should seek immediate medical attention if there is difficulty in breathing or there is high-grade fever. And these patients, they should stay in touch with their physician, and AIIMS have recommended tablet ivermectin to 12 milligram per day for 3 to 5 days. And AIIMS also recommend inhalational budesonide. It is given by nebulization or by inhaler, and most of these patients, they respond well. And in mild disease, systemic steroids are not indicated. And in moderate cases, we should give oxygen support, and we should also encourage awake proning. And if for some time, for 2 hours, then on lateral position, we can nurse this patient to derive good benefit. And anti-inflammatory drugs should be used in them. Steroids and methylprednisolone, those have I have already told, methylprednisolone 0.5 milligram in moderate cases per kilogram and 1 milligram per kilogram in severe cases. And anticoagulation is recommended by AIIMS in moderate cases, and these should be monitored by work of breathing, and serial X-ray chest and HRCT should be done, and lab monitoring in these patients by CRP and D-dimer every 48 to 72 hours. And in severe cases, apart from the usual supportive respiratory support, we should be ready for intubation in these patients. And and a proper ARDS protocol on ventilator should be used, in which there is a lot of increase, especially initially in FiO2. And anti-inflammatory drugs are recommended like methylprednisolone 1 to 2 milligram per kilogram body weight, and dexamethasone maybe 6 milligram every day for 10 days. And anticoagulation in these ICU patients or severe cases should always be used, and it should be enoxaparin maybe 0.5 milligram per kilogram body weight subcutaneously and BD. And serial chest X-ray and HRCT after 48 to 72 hours with monitoring of CRP and D-dimer would be of help. Once again, I would like to tell something about remdesivir. It should be used only within 10 days, should be used only in patients of moderate to severe disease, and wherever you use remdesivir, there should be no renal or hepatic dysfunction. And the recommended dose is 200 milligram IV on day 1 and 100 milligram IV OD for next 4 days. Tocilizumab, this is also, it should be, it's not of much use, but still it should be given in the presence of severe disease, and it should be given only and only when the raised inflammatory markers like CRP and IL-6, and it should be given in those patients who are not improving with steroids, and in those patients there is no active bacterial, fungal or tubercular infection. The recommended dose is 4 to 6 milligram per kilogram body weight, and it should be given in 100 ml NS over 1 hour. And convalescent plasma, authorities are thinking of banning it, but there had been a lot of hype for this. If at all it is to be used, it should be used in early moderate disease, and usual dose is 200 milliliter given over a period of 2 hours. We should avoid spread by airborne, droplet or direct contact. More emphasis should be given on prevention. And for mask एक बड़ा हथियार है. Mask के बारे में I would like to say M stands for Mera, A for Aapka, S for Suraksha, and K for Kavach. I have read all these things in WhatsApps which we are receiving, and many WhatsApps which receives. They are quite informative, and they sometimes they strike our mind. So mask is a good weapon to save ourselves from infection. And what should healthcare workers should do? They should don gowns, they should wear gloves, they should wear goggles, they should have respiratory protective equipment, N95 mask, and a word about face shields. Stud company is making face shields. They are very nice. Along with goggle and one face shield, it costs only 500 rupees, 300 rupees face shield and 200 rupees goggles. I think this is a very good equipment. I had taken 20 of them and given to my staff and my fellow colleagues in my hospital, and I think it's a good protective way. And now something for surgeons also. When to do elective surgery after COVID-19 infection? The suggested time for this surgery is 4 weeks in asymptomatic patients and 6 weeks in those patients who were symptomatic, 8 to 10 weeks who are diabetic and immunocompromised, and 12 weeks for those who were admitted to ICU. But see, these are not very strict timelines, and each patient's preoperative risk assessment should be individualized, and factors in surgical intensity, patient's comorbidities, and benefit risk ratios should be considered. And this slide I think I got from Dr. Banga from Hisar in WhatsApp, and I have copied from that, and I think it is the time, minimum time for those patients who were severely infected, those who have had some time in ICU, is 12 weeks, means 3 months. Anyhow, I'm thankful to Dr. Banga for this slide, and he has probably had it from American College of Anesthesiologists. This second wave has come like a surprise. We were thinking that, oh, we have conquered Corona, but this wave came and it took many lives. So what went wrong and where? This is also one slide which I got from WhatsApp, and it's a good slide. गलती कहाँ हो रही है?
Excuse me, sir.
जिसने भी मेंशन किया उसने बहुत अच्छा किया है. बीमारी को पहचानने में देरी, बीमारी को स्वीकार करने में देरी, इलाज को शुरू करने में देरी, RT-PCR टेस्ट कराने में देरी, लक्षण होने के बावजूद रिपोर्ट का इंतजार करना, बीमारी का गंभीरता से ना लेना और दवाइयों के डर से दवाइयां नहीं लेना, छठे दिन तबीयत ज्यादा खराब होने पर सीटी और ब्लड टेस्ट नहीं कराना, दूसरे स्टेज का ट्रीटमेंट छठे दिन से शुरू नहीं करना, स्टेरॉइड की अपर्याप्त डोज लेना, एंटीकोगुलेंट ना लेना, ऑक्सीजन लेवल नापने में गलती, ऑक्सीजन गिरने पर अस्पताल पहुंचने में गिरनी, और छठे दिन HRCT टेस्ट में 15/25 या उससे ऊपर का स्कोर आने पर भी घर में इलाज और तुरंत अस्पताल में भर्ती ना होना, घर में ही IV फ्लूइड लगवा लेना, ट्रीटमेंट ले लेना, ये अच्छी बात नहीं है. ध्यान रखें, पहला हफ्ता आपके हाथ में, दूसरा हफ्ता आपके डॉक्टर के हाथ में और तीसरा हफ्ता भगवान के हाथ में. आप निर्णय लें कि आप जिंदगी की बागडोर किसके हाथ में देना चाहते हैं. मैं तो यही सजेस्ट करूंगा कि अपने हाथ में रखेंगे तो ज्यादा सेफ है. Anyhow, on Dr. Gole's request, I would like to have a few words for mucormycosis also. Mucormycosis is coming in a big way. It is a black fungus, and how it develops in that water which is used for humidification of oxygen, and so the oxygen supply, it needs to be sanitized. It should be distilled water which should be used instead of tap water for hydrating oxygen. The container for water should be cleaned regularly, and this should be an important part of COVID control program to save a life. Friends, before thanking you, I would like to tell my doctor friends, see, our profession is a noble profession, और ये जो समय है ये कमाने का नहीं है, ये किसी के काम आने का है. So we should do our duty like that. And through this webinar, I would like to say something to administrators as well. एक तो मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर रोड़े नहीं अटकाएं और सभी अस्पतालों को काम करने दें, OPDs को पूरी तरह से चलने दें ताकि होम आइसोलेशन पेशेंट्स का हो सके. और ऑक्सीजन की जो कमी थी, पता नहीं वो वास्तव में थी या नहीं थी या कृत्रिम बना दी गई थी, वो कमी ना हो, और फ्लोमीटर की भी कमी ना हो. और एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर से मेरा ये सजेशन है कि उन लोगों को, डॉक्टर्स का, हेल्थ केयर वर्कर्स का, पैरामेडिक स्टाफ का, हमारी पूरी टीम है इसमें, जैसे डॉक्टर नहीं है, इसमें नर्सेज भी हैं, इसमें पैरामेडिकल स्टाफ भी हैं, इसमें अस्पताल का तो स्वीपर भी इंपॉर्टेंट है. उन सब के साथ सहयोग करें. अभी पीछे एक चालान काट दिया जैसे, तो अरे चालान काटने का वक्त नहीं है ये चालान काटने पे ध्यान मत दो, मरीज को समझाओ. मरीज को तो पता नहीं कहाँ कहाँ बेचारे को आना जाना पड़ता है. और पॉलिटिशियंस को भी मैं, मेरे भाई पॉलिटिशियनों को ये समझाना चाहूंगा कि ये वक्त है, ये लोगों की मदद करने का वक्त है. मैं देखूंगा बहुत से पॉलिटिशियन कर भी रहे हैं, और मैं हमारा दुष्यंत भाई जो है हमारा डिप्टी चीफ मिनिस्टर ऑफ स्टेट का, पीछे एक मीटिंग थी, he took a very keen interest. He talked to so many people, to the party functionaries, to the president, district president, to the other groups like हमारी महिलाएं जो थी उनको भी, उनसे भी बात की, और सब सेक्शन ऑफ सोसाइटी और पार्टी के बहुत से लोगों से बात करी, बड़ा कीन इंटरेस्ट लिया। हमारे कुछ डॉक्टर जैसे मैं और वीरेंद्र सिवाच उनके साथ हैं, और सजेशंस को उन्होंने माना, और जो कुछ हमने कहा वो किया। मैं कहता हूं कि ये दिस इज ए गुड वे, बोथ Dushyant and Digvijay, they are taking interest. It is nice, and all politicians should do like this. It would go a long way for them in their politics as well. Anyhow, I'm thankful to Dr. Gole and ASI, Dr. Bansal, Dr. Nivesh, and I'm thankful to JB Chemicals who gave me an opportunity to discuss things with you. See, I remember Narula from Gurgaon, my younger brother, he posted few days back that Dr. Madia used to say the best way to learn is to teach. So during preparation of these few slides, I have also learned quite a lot, and will follow, and we will be helpful in preventing the third wave, and will be able to help our patients. And I think ASI is also doing a good thing under the stewardship of Dr. Gole and Dr. Bansal, and Nivesh is also Dr. Nivesh. Say, if I say only Nivesh, please don't mind. And you're so dear to me and so close to my heart, and you are doing regularly these activities. I'm thankful to you also, and I'm thankful to all participants. I can see Chandrakant Sharma, I can see Dr. Aneja, I can see my class fellow Hemchandra Daya and Dr. Jain, and so many of you. I'm thankful to everybody who has attended, and we should propagate our suggestions to prevent this disease. वही बात है कि मास्क जरूर लगा के रखें, ये एक बहुत बड़ा हथियार है, और जो स्तंभ है इस बीमारी को हराने के लिए वो वैक्सीन है। और वैक्सीन में भी मैं थोड़ी सी चर्चा आपको ये बता दूं एक बार, और देखे कि हमारी कोवैक्सीन जो भारतीय है वो 81% इफेक्टिव है, और कोविशील्ड जो मुझे भी लगाई है वो 77% इफेक्टिव है। स्पुतनिक कहते हैं कि ये 91% इफेक्टिव है। और कोवैक्सीन की एक खास बात, थोड़ा सा एज ज्यादा है इसका, क्योंकि ये जो वेरिएंट साउथ अफ्रीकन वेरिएंट है और जो 617 वेरिएंट है और कई वेरिएंट आ रहे हैं, उसमें भी हमारी कोवैक्सीन ये बहुत इफेक्टिव है। मैं कृष्णा को, हमारा जो एक किसान के घर में पैदा हो गए, उस हमारे भाई ने ये भारत बायोटेक बनाया और फिर ये वैक्सीन बनाई और इतनी बढ़िया वैक्सीन बनाई, मैं उसको भी अपने दिल से बधाई देना चाहता हूं। और सबसे आशा करता हूं कि वैक्सीनेशन के लिए हम सबको प्रोत्साहित करेंगे और एनकरेज करेंगे, और ये एक बहुत पिलर की तरह से वैक्सीनेशन जो है ये इस बीमारी को रोकने में हम कामयाब होंगे। थैंक यू वेरी मच, सो नाइस।
Thank you, sir.
Sir, excuse me.
Thank you, sir,
Excuse
for
me,
nice
sir.
presentation and giving the your facts, which we should all know. And I
Nivesh,
request
sir.
now. हाँ जी सर।
Nivesh sir,
जी
we should welcome Abhay Dalvi sir, our national president.
sir.
He's
I
on
request Dr. Gautam Gole sir to welcome our Dr. Abhay Dalvi sir and say few words.
Before
Dr. Gautam Gole sir.
Yes, Abhay Dalvi sir. Good evening, sir. You are welcome on our Zoom meeting, sir.
Most welcome, sir.
Good evening to everybody.
Yes, sir.
It's a very nice initiative that you are taking. Especially this talk was excellent, comprehensive, and real good use of WhatsApp also to spread proper knowledge is the thing that I have observed. Many congratulations, Bharadwaj sir. Excellent talk, and I personally enjoyed it. Maybe I will copy some of these slides in my future talks. Thank you so much.
Why not,
Thank
sir?
you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for being present, sir.
Dr. Nilesh, I want to say something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Allowed, sir?
Allowed,
Yes,
sir.
Please, sir. Please, sir.
Dr. Dalvi will allow. He's our national president.
I am just a spectator. I am just a spectator out of interest
No,
for two
no, no.
reasons.
It
One,
is the
Haryana State chapter,
program of-
and second, the topic.
It is the program of ASI Haryana chapter, and you are our national president, and so you are the supreme authority here in this gathering.
Sir, it is our privilege that such a senior persons are there, and sir, it will be our knowledge will be increased when you say something, sir. Please, Jen, sir, enlighten us, sir.
Dr. Nilesh, can I speak?
Yes,
Yes,
sir. Please,
yes,
sir.
yes.
And Dr. Shankar Bharadwaj, भाई बहुत बहुत बधाई हो for such a informative and elaborate talk. You are master of the subject. Very well informed, bhai. Very well informed. Secondly, I want to ask you, is there any surgical lesion because of the COVID?
Sir, because of COVID, there are so many things happening in the chest, but data is not there which are showing some surgical problems like this. There can be some allergic reactions or something like that. Probably they are not pure surgical, at least in my knowledge, they are not like this.
That's very good. Secondly, we all members of ASI Haryana chapter participating in this webinar must congratulate Dr. Gautam Gole on being appointed as director of Faridabad Medical College. He had been appointed director of Faridabad Medical College. So
Congratulations,
we
sir.
must congratulate him. We all should congratulate him. Congratulations, Dr. Gole.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. आप सबके आशीर्वाद रहे।
Congratulations, sir. Congratulations.
I request our secretary, Dr. Anand Rai Bansal, to say few words and about and also enlighten us something. Dr. Anand Rai Bansal.
Good evening, sir. I on behalf of the secretary Haryana chapter and all the members of Haryana chapter, I welcome you all. It will at least boost us in coming days, and we hope that we keep on conducting such webinars in future also. Thank you, Dr. Nilesh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I thank the speaker. I thank all the participants. And also I asked Mr. Chandrakant Sharma, who is a representative of JB Chemicals and Pharmaceuticals, who has given us just Zoom platform to say a few words.
Doctor, I am thankful. We as a JB Chemical are thankful for giving us opportunity to provide this for this nice talk. And, sir, we the makers of Metrogyl, Cadomer, and we are always at your service, sir. Even if you want to conduct in your city also, sir, a small level CME, virtual CME, this platform is available 24/7. On notice of 1 hour, you can we will provide this platform to you, sir. So again, thank you, and again requesting for the products which we have, sir, during this period. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. And with permission of our national president, Dr. Abhay Dalvi, and our state president, Dr. Gautam Gole, shall we close this meeting?
Please, please.
Thank you, sir.
I
Thank you all.
just want to say regarding surgical complications of COVID. There are a lot of reports of vasculitis leading to perforations, especially in the upper small intestine. And that's why hydration and anticoagulation early and prevent these complications. This is for Dr. Jain,
Thank you.
who had asked this
Thank
question.
you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Very true, sir. We have in this COVID period, in last 1 month, we have operated around 4 or 5 cases of the intestinal perforation in the upper and the middle part of the small intestine. So, thank you, sir. Thank you for enlightening us, sir. Thank you and have a nice day. And we should fight together for this COVID, and we'll again meet the offline. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.